Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral? I'd love to hear them. Um, I was just on my other channel doing a bit of a live stream. I don't do a ton of streaming on that channel, so I wanted to try it again just to see if maybe I can restart that channel a little bit. I don't think I spent near enough time focusing on it, so maybe I'm going to do some 24-hour streams of sorts. I figured I might do another 24-hour stream in the Detroit River. I thought that could be kind of fun. We shall see. Um, for the time being, I hope everybody's doing well. Jump in the chat. Any thoughts on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral? Let me know. How's it going beyond Ether? I hope you're doing well. By the way, head over to my community page, answer my questions about historical places in historical Masonic places in America. You can find the answer by researching on the National Register of Historic Places database. I leave the link to the database in with the poll question. I don't want to assign anybody homework, but it's fun and it's a great way to learn about our Masonic buildings, or specifically American Masonic buildings, and why they are ultimately such an important part of the architectural, cultural, historical character of the communities and the cities in which they're located. So yeah. For the time being, though, these 1 a.m. streams, I just hang out, chat about whatever. Don't have any specific talking points or topics. Just want to see what you guys want to talk about. And again, any questions on Freemasonry, please let me know. Positive, negative, or neutral, I'd love to hear them. Oh, we got some reactions. That might be Smokey the Clown. If it is, welcome. Whomever that is, thank you for the reactions. It's much appreciated. Alvin, that sounds wonderful. I loved San Francisco. I was there a few years ago. A beautiful place, an incredible place, an awesome city. A lot of hills, which I'm not a big fan of because I'm in a wheelchair. I mean, I don't think you need to make America healthy again. I think you should just make America healthy. I think you should make every country healthy. I think, however, maybe the way that you view health and I view health are different. Definitely, if you want Rubio 2028, I would strongly disagree with that, and would strongly disagree with kind of the Maha movement under Kennedy. But that's my own personal opinion for whatever it's worth. Please hit like, please hit subscribe. Let me know if you have any thoughts on Freemasonry, but no, not Rubio 2028, at least in my opinion. Hello, Lucy McLaughlin, W content creator, like Win content creator. Please hit like and subscribe. So we don't have an exclusive software or app to communicate. Some lodges use WhatsApp. Some lodges use Facebook Messenger or create Facebook groups. Some lodges, like we have our own, like it's not the technology, but like the platform, like there's Amity, which is a Masonic app that allows you to, when you're traveling to a new town or a new city, find Masonic lodges where you're traveling to and, learn about how to contact them and let them know you're there and provide your information. So there are unique Masonic apps out there, but not unique Masonic platforms, if that makes any sense. I don't know what that means, Alvin. I don't know how you run a channel through AI, but I hope it said good things about me. Please hit like and subscribe. I mean, I don't want to be a bride, nor do I want to be bribed. I don't know what you're saying there, but okay. We do not stream rituals and we do not stream sacrifices. We don't stream sacrifices because we don't have sacrifices. And we don't stream rituals because they're meant to be kept private as a way to maintain the bonds of brotherhood and fellowship. Whatever you say, I'm doing well. How are you doing? Um, binge, lest, I can't pronounce. I'm going to call you Bing. Hello, Bing. Please hit like and subscribe. I think you're new to the stream. Never seen the movie Parallax View, but I'd like to. It sounds interesting. What's it about? Silvasto, I mean, I appreciate you being here, but there's better things to do than that. No, Freemasonry does not worship the devil. Freemasonry has nothing to do with devil worship, Bucks. Clearly, you've been looking at a bunch of nonsense on social media. Um, YouTube headquarters on point. I mean, I'm grateful for YouTube headquarters. I'm grateful for YouTube. It allows me to try to turn my passion for Freemasonry into a profession, for which I'm truly grateful. Michael, what's the movie about? I mean, I'd like to check it out. It sounds interesting. It sounds like a science fiction-ish movie. I would love to visit a lodge in Stoughton. I don't know where Stoughton is, but I'd love to visit a lodge there. Um, I follow an individual's passive self-reflection union with the Most High God. I mean, to be a Freemason, so Freemasonry is not a religion, right? To be a Freemason, you must believe in a supreme being. It sounds to me like you do have a belief in a supreme being. When you talk about Most High God and unity with them, you don't need to be of a specific religious belief to be a Freemason. Like, I do not have a specific religious belief. However, I am a Freemason because I believe in a supreme being. So, I mean, Jewish people and Freemasons are connected, but so are Muslim people and Freemasons, so are Christian people and Freemasons, so are Hindu, Sikh, First Nations. Freemasonry has connections with a variety of different groups. It is not single or unique to any ethnicity or religion, nor should it be. I think that's one of the beautiful things about it. Um, Again, I don't know what it means, Jewish ties. There are Jewish members of my lodges, but there's also Christian members and Muslim members. Now, I am a member of 5 Masonic lodges. One of them, Lodge Holy Land number 50, is out of Israel. So there's that. But that is one lodge out of 5 others, or 4 others, I should say. I mean, I would hope that the chat F's with whomever they so choose. For me, it's the rational nature of the universe as expressed through science. I agree, it is a good thing or beautiful thing to come together despite varying beliefs. Maybe in some ways we come together because of varying beliefs, which can be a beautiful thing. That is not true at all, Stoned Papa Smurf. That is completely incorrect. Someone's been looking at a bunch of nonsense on social media. The majority of lodges, to my understanding, as of right now, is in the United Grand Lodge of England. The number, I mean, the Philippines is up there as well, to be fair. No, I mean, it's his, he owns it, and if he wants to pass it on to his family, then he is allowed to do that. I mean, I always recommend, it's better, in my opinion, if you receive a Masonic item from your grandfather or from anybody. See if the lodge that's in your area would like to see it returned to them. Sometimes it's nice to return it to them as just a gift, as a gesture, because it's one of those things where they might be able to hand it on to another Mason, another member. Just sometimes a nice thing to do. I don't think we've proven God scientifically. I don't know what that means, but I don't know if God can be proven scientifically. I think the whole point is faith, right? Faith is evidence of things not seen. If you're proving God scientifically, then it's no longer a matter of faith. Well, I mean, so Elias, when you're talking about the Masonic handshake, which maybe it exists, maybe it doesn't, what you're really talking about are modes of recognition. Modes of recognition date back to our Stone Masonic roots, ROOTS, Stone Masonic roots, when as operative Masons, as people who were professional stonemasons, this is in the Middle Ages, they had to rely on signs and symbols and tokens and grips and words to prove their training and to prove that they were qualified. Otherwise, you'd have unqualified Masons showing up on job sites and trying to take work from qualified Masons. And then those modes of recognitions transferred down to us. No 3-9, and you know it's not. You're just being dumb. Faith is an eternal fire that burns inside of men's hearts. I mean, that's very poetic. I'm not sure if you made that up yourself or if it came from somewhere, but it's a beautiful quote. Um, what's wild thing? Although there's a lot of wild things on social media. Unfortunately, dumb people exist, and you just got to deal with it. Um, with each experience, we grow and become more aware of the inner beauty that lies within us. Ultimately, we are truly our own leader. We lead the connection and flow of life that is our inheritance. Rabbi Yossi. I mean, but is everything that exists able to be understood or calculated through math? I'm not sure if I would say everything. I think that's the challenge we're facing, right? Is does everything is everything that exists math? That I don't know. Um, and that's the challenge. Right now, I've said before that my supreme being within Freemasonry is best understood as the rational nature of the universe. And the rational nature of the universe can be best understood through geometry and math and science. So there is that. Um, Nothing is real. We're all plugged into the system. It's all a dream. I mean, that's one possibility of motocross, although I'm suspicious of the idea of a simulation. I think it's far more likely we're on some type of base reality. What I am is a handsome fella who's asking you to hit the like and subscribe button, JFK. I mean, yeah, I think the problem with this idea of thinking about reality in terms of a simulation is it's kind of a self-defeating prophecy because under that theory, you can never know if you're in base reality, right? There could always be another layer. I'm a Virgo. When you really think about it, there's no purpose of living. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing to have no purpose to living. I think, Camus might say, embrace the absurdity of it. I would say maybe we can find our own meaning for living. Um, if the world was to be understood by us mere mortals, then it would have been done so. I mean, I think we are understanding more and more of the world. There's always going to be things we don't understand, certainly at an emotional, if not literal level, like why do bad things happen to good people? We may be able to understand it mathematically or in a very calculating way, but that's not a very good answer when we're actually really struggling to understand these things, right? I don't know if that's something we can understand. I haven't looked into them, Mr. Jordan, so I can't say, but I don't believe in aliens, which I've said on this channel in the past. Um, Robert E. Lee, please hit like and subscribe. Bucks, please hit like and subscribe. So you don't want to think about Freemasonry in terms of levels. That's not really the way to look at it or think about it. There are degrees and there are offices. I am a third degree Master Mason. I'm also an 18th degree Scottish Rite Mason. I am also Worshipful Master of Border Cities Lodge number 554, and a past master as well. Well, thank you, Seth. I appreciate that. Please hit like and subscribe in honor of my pretty eyes. A life well lived. You're not wrong, Redguard, and I must be living a life well lived because I am very exhausted. UFO, welcome. Thank you for being here. Please hit like and subscribe. I mean, time passes differently for everyone. We know that's true through relativity. However, I mean, in our lives day to day, we're never going to experience the time dilation effects. Um, I mean, I think everybody's going through their own experiences. How much we can truly understand of it is a challenge. Um, so, Jason, if your grandfather was a Shriner, he was a Mason first. To be a Shriner, you must first be a Mason, and then you can choose to join the Shrine if you want. It simply means it's another appendant body within Freemasonry. Um, it is, it's kind of like you can join Scottish Rite, you can join York Rite, you can join the Shrine, but you must first be a third degree Master Mason, and you go from there. Um, I Oh, the funny jokes about the goat. In Freemasonry book, I don't know what it means to largest sit in a pentagon form. I've never sat in a pentagram form in any Masonic lodge. I mean, some people reference a pentagram in terms of Eastern Star, which symbol is a pentagram, the 5 points representing 5 heavenly virtues and 5 women of the Bible. Well, there is no single Scottish Rite center, SoCal Rocks, but there are many Scottish Rite centers around the world. It just references Scottish Rite Masonry, which is an appendant body of Freemasonry. It's kind of like if you're a Mason and you want to continue in the journey and learn new perspectives on the craft, you can join the Scottish Rite. If your grandfather was showing his dues card to avoid DUIs, Jason, then he was being a bad Freemason, as was the police officer who let him get away with it. If you're a Mason, you should not be driving while intoxicated, period. Grady, how's it going? The Wall, please hit like and subscribe. The Wall 668. How many past masters, how many Masons it take to screw in a light bulb? It's a secret. That's the answer to that question. It's a secret. Or 5, 1 to hold the light bulb, 4 to rotate the house. Never drank, Oak. Never had a single drink of alcohol, so I've been sober 42 years. Please hit like and subscribe. Even in the 60s, they shouldn't be doing it, although people are people, and what can you do, right? No, my goal right now is to grow my channel, boat, and to try to turn my passion for Freemasonry into a profession by creating content. So please consider doing a super chat of just $2, hitting like, hitting subscribe. Yes, I'm 42. Don't remind me. I already feel old enough as it is. Thank you very much. So, you know. So what's Freemasonry about? I mean, Freemasonry, what is it about when you get together with your friends on a Friday night? You're not going to be asking your friends what religion they are, right? Or I mean, you might know, but you're not going to care. What matters is they're your friends. Freemasonry ultimately is about the belief that it's worth spending time with other people, regardless of their religious beliefs or political beliefs or any other beliefs, right? It's simply a social club or a social group. It's not, the exclusive one. There are many social clubs or groups. Sometimes they're organized around activities like bowling. Sometimes they're organized around philosophical endeavors. Sometimes they're organized around service. Freemasonry is kind of organized around all of the above. But ultimately, what Freemasonry is about truly is the belief it's worth spending time with other people. Freemasonry does exist because I'm a Freemason. I'm right here. And we don't round up anybody. Some men smoke cigars. I think it was more common back in the day. Certainly not in buildings, because obviously our Masonic buildings are smoke-free in 2026 as a general rule. Freemasonry, well, again, here I am, and I'm a Freemason, so I can assure you that's not the case. Oregon, thank you for asking the right kind of question. Most people ask what level or rank. I am a 3rd degree Master Mason. I'm also 18th degree Scottish Rite Mason. I am also Worshipful Master of my lodge, Border Cities Lodge 554. Yeah, Red Guard. I mean, Freemasonry and Enlightenment era values go hand in hand. Voltaire was a Mason, Ben Franklin, George Washington, Condorcet, Diderot, all of those Enlightenment era philosophers were themselves Freemasons. Newton may have been a Freemason, it's questioned, but he was good friends with a lot of Masons, including James Anderson, who, of the Anderson Constitutions. Happy Tuesday, Daniel Sports Highlight. Thank you for being here. Well, so the degree doesn't mean authority directly. I mean, the degrees are meant to reflect the Stone Masonic Guild degrees of Entered Apprentice, Fellow Craft Master Mason. It's meant to represent advancement in the lodge and advancements in Masonic knowledge. The extent to which you have authority, that primarily comes from your offices which you hold. Like, for example, as the Worshipful Master of the Lodge, I'm responsible for kind of well-ruling and governing the Lodge for a year. It's democratically elected. But even then, my authority is relatively limited, right? My responsibility is not to exert my will or authority on the Lodge. It's to make sure that when the Lodge is having a vote, it's the vote is done properly and in accordance with the Constitution, not to see, the vote go the way I want. What are Rosicrucianisms, Oregon Bro? So Rosicrucianisms is a different fraternal or civic group or civic club, to my understanding, more focused on philosophy and philosophical ideas. There shares a lot of similarities between Rosicrucianism and Freemasonry, but it was founded in 1915. It was founded much later than Freemasonry. Mill 4, I try my best to never lie. I get things wrong all the time, but I try my best to never lie, so I guess you can believe me or not. Golden Dawn, it's a different order, not Rosicrucianism. Mr. Jordan, so to be a Freemason, you must believe in a supreme being. The nature of that supreme being is up to each individual Mason. There's no prescribed one. So you can have a Christian, Muslim, Jewish, Hindu, Sikh, First Nations, Freemason, or you can have Masons like me who don't have any particular religious beliefs, but simply believe in a supreme being. In my case, it is the rational nature of the universe as expressed through science and as expressed through geometry. Well, in some ways, that's correct. CTR, Control Delete. Freemasonry, one thing you're not allowed to discuss in a Masonic lodge is religion or politics. But that's not to say that we as Freemasons are not and will always be, are not respectful of Masons and different religious beliefs. If we have a Muslim, we're going to respect his belief. If we have a Christian, we're going to respect his belief. If there's Jewish member, we're going to respect their belief. It's not our place to tell anyone what to believe in terms of their religious beliefs or their deity. You can be private and believe in religion. The Vatican keeps many secrets, so do many other organizations. Privacy is not anti-religious. Alvarez, it depends. I would say on average twice a month, once for administrative meetings, once for business meetings. But some lodges will have weekly meetings for different things. It just depends. As always, I hope you take a moment, if you are just joining us, to hit like and subscribe. Consider a super chat, consider joining my Patreon, all that good jazz. Help me turn my passion for Freemasonry into a profession. You can be anonymous. I think one's religious beliefs is probably separate from one's belief in things like the right to privacy, the right to anonymity. Now, obviously, you can't be quote unquote private or anonymous from your supreme being. If you're a Christian, no matter how private or anonymous you try to be, you're never going to be so anonymous and private that you don't believe in that your God is always watching kind of thing. But that's not the same as for here on earth. Hello, Thomas. For how long? I've been a Mason for just about 20 years, which is crazy to think it's been that long. 20 whole years. When you say go further, do you mean why is that rule there? That's a long-standing rule. It dates back to when Freemasons were stonemasons or operative masons. They were professionals, and it made no sense to bring up religion or politics on a job site because they had a job to do. It'd be like if you're at your job site and everybody's trying to get to work and you're busy proselytizing about your religious beliefs. It's going to make a very long work day, or your political beliefs for that matter. So it was meant to represent different beliefs to be welcomed. What mattered was your skill as a stonemason. In 2026, it's your skill as a Freemason, I suppose. Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Bing, very much. I'm getting close to 4,000 subs. I'm at 3,977, so I'm almost there. Howdy, good to see ya. Masonry is not in conflict with religion. They operate in completely different spaces. Well, so Freemasonry is decentralized. There's no single governing body that sets the rules. It's jurisdiction by jurisdiction. So the rules in Texas are slightly different than the rules in Tennessee. As a general rule, to join Freemasonry, you need to believe in a supreme being. You need to be joining of your own free will and accord, not because you've been promised anything or being forced to. And you need to be of a certain age. Usually, it's either over 18 or over 21 because Freemasonry is for adults. Um, those are kind of the most basic rules. You may be joining a lodge that has a dress code, wearing a suit and tie to meetings like mine. You may be at a lodge where, again, the timing of meeting, whatever it might be. But I would say at its core, the most basic requirement is belief in a supreme being and to be of the correct age and to be approaching the lodge and joining of your own interest. Then, more generally, expect to be a good man and true. You can't be out there committing crimes and expecting to be a Mason, right? You'll be suspended. No, we do not, Bud Morgan. We do not. If you claim to be religious and you are in an organization G.W. Bush subscribed, George W. Bush was not a Mason. He was part of the Skull and Bones, which is a Yale fraternity, but it's not the same thing as it's not it wasn't Freemasonry. And no, Masonry is definitely not above the law, nor should we want to be. Within Freemasonry, it's our responsibility to be compliant with and obey the laws of the country in which we live. Period. Well, I've never met a satanic Freemason. I don't know if you could be satanic and a Freemason. My suspicion is you probably would not be able to be one because, to my understanding, Satanists, they view themselves as their supreme being, which is a little bit too, I don't think that would work. Now, if somebody has evil beliefs in that they want to hurt other people, they would not be Freemasons because they're hurting people or breaking the law. And that's something we as Freemasons would frown upon. Robert says baloney, says bullshit. So be it, Robert. I don't think you know what you're talking about. The benefit of trying to make the world a better place or the benefit of friendship. Although there's also significant, at least in my experience, significant possibility for protections in terms of a social safety net. I've known Masons who've kept themselves in their home thanks to the lodges providing charitable assistance when it was needed. What is the average age range? Asks somebody. Asks Bing. Unfortunately, Freemasonry is definitely trending older, excuse me, unfortunately. So I would say, generally speaking, the average age range is 50 to 60 and above. But some of us are working on it and trying to keep it down, trying to keep that age range down, getting some more younger people to join. I am a leader, in fact, in Freemasonry. I'm a worshipful master. Not everybody likes where I lead it, but I do lead. According to my worldview, where do morals come from? Morals come from the biological reality of things wanting to live, and everything we do is based on that basic premise. There's a biological truth that biological things, whether it be human or animals, want to live. Humans understand a desire to live, but also a desire to pass down our genetic material. And the creation of civilization and the rules that govern civilization is based on what is most likely to allow us to live for as long as possible, or if not to live ourselves, to ensure our genetic material lives. But that's me. That's not Masonic. Every Mason will have his own view of morality and where morals come from. Right now, Freemasonry is being defeated by how comfortable the couch is and what's on Netflix most nights, and how busy people are working to the point where they feel like they don't have the energy to attend Masonic events. But we're working on it. Hello, Kellogg. Welcome back. I think morality has a lot to do with science. I would disagree with that quite strongly. Morality doesn't come from a survival. Morality comes from a desire to survive. For example, um, thou shalt not kill. Why do we have that? Because we as human beings want to survive, so we don't want to be killed. We recognize that. No, and we also recognize, at least on some level, harming others will ultimately result in, the human race being weaker. There may be times when it's necessary, but we recognize it's not the ideal. Don't be a bum and hit the thumb, indeed. Um, you asked me where they come from. Again, they don't come from me. They come from they come from our biological realities, not me personally, humanity as a whole, right? Because if my biology was unique, I don't think it'd be a very good moral compass. The fact that everybody out there seems to have these same biological imperatives, right? The body, if I get injured, my physical self will try to heal the injury. It will actually take steps to heal the injury. It will send pain signals so I know there's something wrong and I can address it. It will try to clot blood around a wound. It will try to stitch together a broken bone. It will, if the injury is a germ or a sickness, it will activate the immune system. That tells me there's a value to me. That's a value to this physical self. And I think I can derive a moral lesson from that, meaning I should treat myself well. But since everybody has those same biological systems and everybody's physical self will try to repair it, that sends me a lesson that the person next to me has as much value as I do. And I can derive a pretty decent morality from that. Or I think not derive, I can recognize, because the morality exists whether I exist or not, right? The morality is not dependent on me, but I can recognize it based on those biological facts. But this is my personal opinion. What is the interview process? So there is no single interview process, Mr. Jordan. Rather, it takes time. The first step is you approach of your own free will and accord and you express your interest in joining. Then there's usually, they might take you out for dinner or coffee. They may invite you to the lodge for some public events or a tour of the building, and they get to know you. Eventually, they will, if they think you'll be a good fit, they'll provide you with some sponsors who will sign off an application form for you, and you go from there. Sometimes it can take, I would say on average, expect it to take at least a few months because the lodge itself has to vote on new members. And it can only do that after all the paperwork's been done and you've met the guys, et cetera, et cetera. So it can take a little while, but which is better. I think it's better to take your time. It's as much a process of you getting to know the lodge as the lodge getting to know you. In both cases, you're determining, is this going to be a good fit? Do I like Freemasonry? Do I like the building? Do I like the guys I'm meeting? All that stuff is incredibly important. So, can you guess where I'm from? It says Turbo Gem. Did you hit the like and subscribe button? Is a better question. I'm gonna guess Texas. This live and this channel is all about Freemasonry. And my attempt to turn my passion for Freemasonry into a profession. So please take a moment, hit like, hit subscribe, super chat. Let me know if you have any thoughts on Freemasonry. I've been a Freemason for 20 years. I don't think there was a creator. I think the universe is probably eternal. I disagree with that, Bonehead. Pain has a lot to do with morals. I think there's an obvious connection. If I hurt myself and I feel pain, there is a moral lesson in there, which is I should avoid doing that because my body's sending me a message that there's a value to, myself, my physical self. And because I know pain is something I want to avoid feeling, I can recognize other people feel pain and do my best to make sure I don't cause them pain, right? If I never had painful feelings combined with empathy, I would not care about how others feel, either emotional pain or physical pain, or both. Thank you all for being here. Please take a moment, hit like, hit subscribe. Any thoughts on Freemasonry, let me know. That's okay. Um, Sometimes I've known plenty of people without autism who have very weak social skills. So just do your best. It's all you can do, right? Human nature is such that we need to do our best. Um, so we got two people who think the universe is eternal. What role does the greater power play? So for me, the greater power, the role that my personal greater power plays is it allows me to understand the universe and act in accordance with the laws of nature, right? Stoicism, one of my favorite ideas from Stoicism, is the idea that to be virtuous is to live in accordance with nature. The fact that I can understand nature through science and through geometry, which is a very Masonic idea, the fact that I can understand the consequences of my actions, I can create in my mind equations to help me understand how things will travel, what the consequences of my actions will be. That plays the role of allowing me to live well and goodly and with happiness in this world. And that nature favors virtue, virtue being to live in accordance with it. I can ignore gravity, but eventually I'm going to fall down and hurt myself, if not worse, right? That's a sign that nature favors those who recognize the rules of gravity or the principle of gravity. So my supreme being, the rational nature of the universe, allows me to live in harmony with nature and therefore to live a virtuous life in which virtue or goodness is favored. Um, that is true controlled elite. Freemasonry is about 300 to 400 years old. I usually put its start date at 1634. I think is a good date to start it with. Um, Well, but she can't, but pain is simply one metric. It's not the exclusive metric. Notice what I said. I said pain is one way I know I have value because the pain is telling me, hey, you're valuable. Don't fall down because that will injure yourself. But I also know I'm valuable because if I cut myself, even if I don't feel pain, the blood in my body will, clot around the wound and try to stop the bleeding. My bones will try to heal themselves. My immune system will act against diseases, right? Even if my grandma's in a coma and can't feel pain, which by the way, she may be able to. There's been some evidence that people in comas can feel pain. But putting that aside, even if she can't, if she's harmed, her body will still try to fight the harm by, trying to stop bleeding in a cut, or the immune system will fight a fever or fight an infection. The body will still do what it can in whatever state it can to protect itself, which demonstrates to me value. Now, again, it may be that through age, through injury, through whatever it is, the body has become so weakened, it is not capable of successfully fighting off disease or injury, but it still tries and puts in its best effort, right? If I have a computer and that computer has become broken through age, neglect, damage, the computer may still try to heal itself in the case of, whatever happens to it. It just may reach a point where it's no longer able to. But that still indicates a level of value in the computer. Um, to itself, I think that's good enough, right? Why must anything have any more value than to itself, right? I mean, my blood tries to clot a wound to stop me from bleeding. That tells me that I have value, that my life has value. To what? To whom? I mean, to itself. The blood doesn't know why it's doing what it's doing. It simply is doing it. The blood simply knows that it has a job to do because there's a value in the person it's trying to save. Um, Beyond that, it's not really something I'm concerned about. I think nature is enough. Valuable to nature, valuable to the nature that created it, or whatever it might be. Um, I mean, why, Bonehead? If you find your life hopeless, then maybe you need to turn to religious beliefs or spiritual beliefs. Um, I think where you derive hope is something that you should be concerned with, but everybody derives hope in different ways. What was written by Albert Pike and what not? I mean, Albert Pike wrote Morals and Dogma, and it's been a pain in my ass ever since because people read that once upon a time and completely misunderstood it and completely misquoted it. But he wrote Morals and Dogma. He didn't write those letters predicting 3 world wars. That's a hoax. But um, yes, I'm a Mason. I've been a Mason for just about 20 years. Um, it's crazy to think it's been that long. To be honest, I can't believe it. What power does Freemasonry have? I mean, we don't have any political power. We don't have any economic power. We don't have any uh, any social power. We have the power to try to make people's lives better, at least membership, helping them when they're struggling, and we have the power to maybe help people, help communities. But ultimately, Freemasonry is not about power. If anybody's telling you to join Freemasonry and you'll get rich and famous, you should be very disappointed. It's a scam. Freemasonry is not going to make you rich, famous, or powerful. Um, well, there is no single Masonic goal. I mean, what is the goal of going out with your friend on a Friday night, Mr. Jordan? Right? Do you have any goal beyond spending time with other people? And why is that not good enough? Why can't the goal simply be to associate with other people and enjoy one another's company? Right? Now, some Masons may join with specific goals, like some may join because they had family members um, who were Masons and wanted to be closer to their father or their grandfather. Some may join because they really love the idea of being part of a group that has historical roots. All of that is perfectly fine. Some may join because they want to develop certain practical skills. Like you will become really, really good at, conflict resolution and organizing meetings and memorization. Um, some may like the idea of being part of just a historical building. So there you go. No, Masons do not worship Satan, and we do not become full of demons. So Ryan Rogers is wrong, is 0 for 2. Um, there is no such thing as a high level of Freemasonry. That's not how it works. Freemasonry is decentralized. There is no high level, right? The highest level in Freemasonry is the 3rd degree Master Mason level. And that's it. Well, the Masonic Bible, people think it's a special type of Bible. It's not. It's the King James version of the Bible. That's all it is. It's just a King James version. Um, well, you might. Shut up, Bonehead. You're an idiot. I mean, you might if it keeps happening, week after week, and then other people want to start to join, and then other people want to start to join. Let's say you and your friends are out at the bar hanging out, and other people see you enjoying one another's company and ask if they can hang out with you as well. And you say, sure. And every week, more and more people hang out with you at the bar. Once you start to get a few hundred people hanging out with you, maybe you would start to think about creating an organization out of it. Especially then, you could call it what's your name again? You could call it the Mr. Jordan Friends Group. And then maybe, enough people hang out with you guys. You decide why we're going out to the bar. Maybe we'll all just put in some money together and we'll rent our own space and we'll hang out there. Right? I mean, as people enjoy one another's company and as it grows, eventually the nature of humanity and of humans is to create organizations. When Aristotle said man is a political animal, he didn't mean that, human beings are Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal. What he meant is it's our tendency as we form into groups to eventually organize those groups into more formalized organizations, right? And you see it all the time. I mean, look at the Fraternal Order of Police, right? There's no reason why police officers couldn't just get together with each other on a Friday night for drinks, but they chose to take that social club structure and formalize it. The Legion, the Free Gardeners, you know? Um, you can just get together with your friends on a Friday night and go bowling for fun, But you get enough people together bowling, suddenly they create bowling leagues and teams and all the rest of it, you know? Um, and also, forming an organization means you can do things. You can rent out your own space instead of going to the bar. If you collect dues, you can decide to do charitable activities. Like, let's say when you're getting together with all of your friends on a Friday night, you find out one of your friends, his daughter is sick in the hospital. Well, you could do a quick pass the hat around and give him some money to help him out. But if you're a sufficiently well organized friend group, then you can still do the pass the hat, but you can also organize people to give him rides to the hospital to visit his daughter, whatever it might be. It allows you to take your friendship and do more with it. Finally, an intelligent YouTube channel. Well, I try my best. Um, Carver. Well, I would join the Mr. Jordan friend group, Mr. Jordan. And keep in mind, your friend group, right? It might be a newer group. I mean, Freemasonry's been around for 300 years. It started or over that. It started around 1634. So they've had a lot of time for a lot of people to find this thing interesting and start joining it. A really good way to think about it, although Freemasonry is not this at all, but a very general idea is look at the movie Fight Club, right? Guys like to join things. It's in our nature. It's human nature to want to be part of something. And sometimes if you see a bunch of people who seem to be enjoying each other's company, maybe you want to join that. And eventually, it just kind of balloons. Um, I Speaking of Sherlock Holmes, Bing, uh, Arthur Conan Doyle was a Freemason. So that's kind of cool on a side note. Freemasons' lodges are not bars. However, many Masonic lodges, many Masonic buildings did include bars when they were creating them, either for the social aspect or to rent them out for additional revenue. Um, Attention is the core of human nature. There's some truth to that. I'm an expensive Mason. Masonry is getting more and more expensive because the cost of living keeps going up. Wonder Bucket. Yes, Joseph Smith was a Freemason. That is true. Keep in mind, though, Mormonism and Freemasonry are different things, right? Mormonism is religious. Freemasonry is not. They occupy different spaces. There were oddfellows in Canada. Yes, absolutely. Um, I am a Freemason. Welcome, Jimmy. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Ben, for being here as well. Please take a moment, if you're just joining us, to hit like and subscribe. I'm 24 subscribers away from 4,000 subs, so I'd appreciate this help. Thank you. Well, I mean, I do these streams, Mr. Jordan, every Monday through Friday, 1 a.m. and 1 p.m. I'm trying to turn my passion for Freemasonry into a profession by creating content about Freemasonry. I have content across a variety of platforms, including and not limited to YouTube. It didn't create the Knights of Columbus, Wonder Bucket, but it adopted the Knights of Columbus as a competitor to Freemasons. It kind of took them over and said, because the Catholic Church said its membership can't be Freemasons, it said instead, you can be Knights of Columbus. It is essentially a brotherhood. Jimmy, what does it mean to be a Freemason? I would say at its core, to be a Freemason means you're a member of a Masonic lodge. It's like asking, what does it mean to be a member of Good Life Fitness? It's a membership designation, nothing more, nothing less. Now, an active Freemason is someone who's involved and dedicated. That's a different thing. Stalin was not a Freemason. Freemasonry was outlawed in Russia in after the Bolshevik Revolution. It was basically outlawed in Russia from about or the Soviet Union, I should say, from about 1918 to 1995. Dedicated to what? Dedicated to spending time with other people and your brethren. So if you're an active member of the gym, you're dedicated to fitness. If you're an active Freemason, you're dedicated to spending time with other Masons and, gathering. Again, What does it mean to be a friend? It means I'm a friend of John Smith. What does it mean to be an active friend? It means I show up for him and spend time with him. Being a Freemason means you're spending time with other Masons in a Masonic Lodge meeting. Um, I mean, Mr. Jordan, Albert Pike was a Freemason. That's true. Um, I mean, what are my thoughts on Jesus? Again, this is me speaking personally, not for Freemasonry. I'm not sure of anything 100% when it comes to history, but I'm fairly sure that there was a real figure named Jesus who existed, 2,000 years ago, in the Middle East. Um, I'm not one who believes in the supernatural elements of the story, but I'm sure there was a real figure, as sure as I can be, there was a real figure named Jesus who was a teacher and, a very important teacher at the time. Um, that's a very good goal to have. Knowledge and wisdom are both very valuable goals to have. I would say maybe you want that goal to be knowledge and wisdom, but also using that knowledge and wisdom to make the world a better place might be, applying it might be important as well. Um, as much as anything else. I like them. I mean, they're a relatively new organization, right? They're founded in 1915, but I don't know a ton about them, but no issues with them. I think anytime we have civic institutions, it's all the better, you know, whether it be Knights of Columbus, Rosicrucianisms, or Freemasons. I think they are all equally valuable, equally important. I think a society with a strong civic institutional base is really, really important. Um, in my oh so humble opinion. What happened to they're still around, Rosicrucianisms. I think they're pretty popular in Europe right now, to be honest. So when you say haven't been to Grand Lodge, Alvarez, that can mean a couple different things. Do you mean the annual communication? I've been to dozens of annual communications all around the world, and I've loved every single one of them. Or do you mean like the Grand Lodge building, which I've also been to dozens of Grand Lodge buildings all around the world. Um, so LO love, one Y, LO. The Templars, I think you're referring to the Knights Templars, which is in modern times, it is a Masonic chapter within the York Rite. It is the highest chapter within the York Rite. Um, there's also an ancient military and economic order, which existed about 400 years before Freemasons. So it's a separate kind of. Initially it was separate, and then Freemasons, as it developed its rituals and practices, looked back at the Knights Templars as a source of inspiration. Is there an ultimate good or an ultimate truth? Well, I don't know if there's an ultimate, but there's a relative truth, which you can always find, right? It's kind of like time and telling time. Time is relative, but that doesn't mean it's non-existent. Thank you for subscribing, Carver. I mean, these streams, because it's 1 a.m. for me, and I usually end these streams around 1 hour in, but I'll be back on tomorrow or today technically at 1 p.m. Um, so yeah. No, Justin, we do not. There is this thing called a Masonic passport, which is not a real passport. It's a document that was created that, for people to um, keep track of their Masonic travels. I always recommend not having one because if you're traveling to a different country and you have your Canadian passport and you have your Masonic passport, The country you're traveling to may find it and may think it's some type of special identification or special document, and that can actually cause trouble. And I've known Masons who've gotten in trouble because people think it's some type of special document or special designation when it's not, right? Just indicates you're a member of a club. So I always recommend, it's very good. You should always keep a Masonic journal. And within that Masonic journal, you should always record your travels and your trips and things you discovered. But you should not call it a Masonic passport, nor have anything in your travels that looks like a passport, because it might cause you trouble in the travel, in your travels. The basis of what? Yes, I got a big nose. Please hit like and subscribe. Sorry, basis of. I'm not sure what you mean, Justin. Well, the basis is our ability to, rationally make decisions. Like the basis of time would be Lorentzian calculations, I suppose, or again, being able to, I guess, general or special relativity. I think you can apply the same scientific rigor to morality. Two people are trying to come up with a moral solution. They should be able, without maybe even having some type of ultimate basis, simply rely upon common sense and some type of quasi-scientific approach to figure it out. Hello, Bing, why not? 3 is a very important number in Freemasonry. That's what I'll say about that. Who joins? Oh, my live keeps cutting in and out. So maybe I'll have to end this stream in a second. I believe Santa is a wonderful, wonderful metaphor for charity. Although if there are any kids on the stream somehow, I don't know why you should be asleep. Yes, Santa is real. Many people say I look like Matt Damon. Many people say I look ugly as well. So I don't know if that's a compliment or not to Matt Damon, but that's a whole separate can of tuna. Thank you for all the likes. Thank you for all the subscriptions. Don't forget, follow me on socials. Follow me on Patreon. Take a few moments to consider a super chat. Just $2 helps out big time, believe me. No, Alvaruz, that's not how it works. We don't get any information from any sources that the public doesn't get. We don't have like special Masonic news sites or something. I'm watching CNN just like the rest of you. Thank you, Bing. Sit, Yana Zahira, what's up? How's it going? Thank you for being here. Please hit like and subscribe. No, they did not. Hello, Jenny Clevenger. Thank you for being here as well. If you're new to the stream, please take a moment, hit the like and subscribe button. I'm at 3,979 subs. I'm almost at 4,000. It's City, not Sit. All right, City, welcome. Thank you for being here. Hope you're doing well. We're getting very close to 4,000 subs. I'm almost there. Help a brother out. See if we can do it. I might get there in the next couple of days, maybe by the end of the week, which would be awesome. I mean, they should, but I would like to find support. Like, if I find out, I don't know, like generally speaking, practically speaking, the support will be local, right? Like, I've seen many Masons in my Masonic lodges who, were struggling in different ways, maybe financially, and get support from the lodge. They get benevolence, or, brethren will deliver food to them if they can't leave the house, or if they're sick, or visit them in the hospital. Internationally, it's a little bit harder because obviously you're less aware of the needs of your brethren around the world than you are with your brethren next to you, obviously, right? But I think as a general rule, we should try to support Masons anywhere we find them. Like I've traveled to different parts of the world and stopped at the Masonic Lodge, and they've given me a meal, and I slept over at brothers' houses, stuff like that, if I couldn't find a hotel. So absolutely. Mika, follower of Christ. I don't think fear is ever the beginning of wisdom. I've heard people say that before. This is my personal opinion. I'm not sure fear is the best place or the best starting point from which we can derive wisdom, personally. Um, well, because the Mason Bible, it's not a Bible in the sense you're thinking of. Like, we don't have, like, we have within Freemasonry what's called a volume of the sacred law. Now, that could be a Bible if, the majority of the lodge is Christian. It could be a Quran. It could be a Torah. Like in Morocco, they use a Quran more often than not because it's a Muslim country. There could be three different books. I've seen that on many altars throughout my travels. I've even seen eagle feathers used as a volume of the sacred law, right? What happens is if you have a brother who's joining a Masonic lodge and he's of the Christian faith, or he's simply non denominational, but most closely identifies with the Christian faith, he will take his obligation on his volume of the sacred law, which would be a Bible. And the Masonic Bible, basically, it's a version of it. Again, it's the King James Version. It just has a square and compass on the front, and it has a place for every Mason who is at his initiation to sign their name. And then it's given to him at the end of his degrees as a keepsake, as a memento of his travels, of his Masonic experiences thus far. Like, I've signed many Masonic Bibles, and I'm grateful for everyone I've signed. But you could just as easily see a Quran up there or a Torah, whatever it might be.
At E007 number 15 United States dollars and 55 cents to all who aid this glorious work wherever they may be, years to the craft and homeland as hands across the sea.
Thank you for that. Why not? I'm grateful. Thank you for the super chats. It helps out this channel big time. Even so, Justin, I'm not a big fan of this idea of fear. I mean, I guess fear as in healthy respect is a good thing, but I think generally speaking, I think maybe respect might be a better term to use than fear as the start of wisdom. I've always been relatively hesitant about that. Um, I prefer the VSL, which has no words, just empty pages. That's not a common thing. I've heard of that, but I've never seen one. That's not really a common thing, right? I've heard people use one which just basically says volume of sacred law with nothing on the inside because it's meant to represent every kind of faith. I've seen objects used as the volume of the sacred law in the past. Like I've seen eagle feathers used in rituals, and I've not seen, but I was told that there was a couple of Wiccan Masons joining, Wiccan, who used gems and stones for their volume of the sacred law. I broke chat. Well, don't break Chat GPT. Some people still use it. Thank you, Siegel, for the $100. But if you can't actually do a super chat of 100, then you can hit the like and subscribe button, and that would be much obliged. Mr. Palad, it depends on the rules of the municipality and the lodge itself. So some buildings may have, no gun policies. Some municipalities may have policies about where you can and cannot take firearms. It just depends. I will say this, there's some really interesting, on a side note, movies coming out lately. Really interesting, scary movies coming out. What's the Viking sagas? I never heard of that before, but that's interesting. Hello, Royal Vowels or Roy Vowels. Thank you for being here. As always, please hit like, please hit subscribe. And I hope you're doing well. Peach, I mean, I'm a member of 5 Masonic lodges, so they're all over the place. 3 in Windsor, Ontario, 1 in Texas, 1 in Israel. but I've traveled and been lucky enough to visit Masonic lodges everywhere, and I'm truly grateful for that. One day I might do a map of every country or state or province with a Masonic lodge which I visited, because I think that'd be really fun. I do live in Windsor, Ontario. I've been here for 20 years. Incredible city. So unappreciated. I think how wonderful this city is. It's got, Detroit right there. That's pretty incredible. So I love it. Windsor is awesome. Um, that's awesome. I've been to Masonic lodges in Vegas. So there you go. Let me actually do this quickly. I'm curious if I can create a fillable map. I loved my time in Vegas. I mean, that's strange to me. I've never seen. I mean, there is militia in Michigan, but I don't think you should be a militia member and a Freemason as a general rule. Okay, so let's see. I've been to Masonic meetings. Never in BC, but I'd love to go there. I've traveled through BC through the airport. That's about it. But it was beautiful airport. I'll say that. Um, I mean, Dan, I'm not a big fan of Trump. I can tell you that. That's my own personal opinion, but I don't like him at all. So I've been to Masonic lodges in Michigan, Illinois, Indiana, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, New York. No, Rainbow is a Masonic youth group that has. I used to know when it was formed. I can't think of it right now. But we have Rainbow here in Windsor. We have Rainbow in Essex. Rainbow is throughout North America and Europe as well, I believe. They're a very awesome part of our Masonic lodges, or they're a very awesome part of our Masonic family. And I'm grateful that they are part of it, as with Demolay as well. I've talked about them in the past and how valuable they are, I think. Kentucky, Tennessee, Missouri, Texas, Florida. No worries, Peach. Have you hit like and subscribe? If not, please do so. It would help me out big time, and be grateful. I would love to visit Switzerland, St. Andrew's Lodge. I think that'd be incredible. Let's see. Arizona, Colorado, California, Nevada. I feel like I'm missing some, and I just can't think of them now. It's not about if people like him, he's treated as a king. I mean, I'm not sure if everybody treats him like a king. I've been seeing number 33. That is called frequency bias, Zalios. You're seeing it a lot because you are looking for it, for the record. One, two, three, four, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I have your drinks. I appreciate that, Minotaur. That I will need that because going to Switzerland, I think, would be a pretty expensive flight. Not that it wouldn't be worth it. I've no doubt. I'm sure it'd be incredibly worth it. But um, I'll see. I mean, there's a couple different things coming up that I really want to get to. I haven't traveled as much as I'd like to this year, so I really want to get back into it. I'm just waiting on a few things. If you're going to help me, Minotaur, then super chats, Patreon, all that stuff will help me get to Switzerland sooner rather than later. No, Freemasonry is nothing to do with the Illuminati. Um, that's not bad actually. Well, that's probably 600 American. You're thinking. So I would say, Mr. Jordan, the most misunderstood thing about Freemasonry is the idea that it's a single organization or a single, like there's a single governing body that controls Freemasonry globally, or it's some type of centralized order. Freemasonry is decentralized. The rules I operate under in Ontario is different than the rules Freemasons operate in Texas or Louisiana or England or Israel. We have this thing called recognition, which means so long as there are some similarities or enough of similarities, enough regularity, I can visit them. But the Grand Master in Ontario is responsible for Freemasonry in Ontario, and that's it. He's not responsible for Freemasonry in Manitoba, nor can he set rules that apply to Manitoba, and vice versa. Thank you, Slick. I appreciate that. Because John Cena is my favorite professional wrestler. So if you think I look like him, I'm much obliged. Um, so Freemasonry, I mean, there are parallels between Freemasonry and Gnosticism, but they're different things. Freemasonry is a group, a social group, or a club. Gnosticism is a philosophy relating to the idea of wisdom, right? Gnosis is Greek for wisdom. I'll take it. Well, then Manitoba will fight back and we'll see what happens. I agree, freaking toast. I want to watch it, but I don't have Netflix, unfortunately. Do a super chat, help me get Netflix. Or join my Patreon. And help me get Netflix that way. Either would be much obliged. I don't know how to torrent it. The GOAT is doing great. Every Freemason will have his own opinion, Mr. Jordan, right? Freemasonry, again, Freemasonry, it's like, I'm sure every one of your friends has a different view on gun ownership and political questions. Some Freemasons will probably be staunch 2A supporters, some not. I personally am not a fan of guns, but that's my own personal opinion. That's not a Masonic opinion. Again, Freemasonry is not, again, it kind of goes back to this misconception. Freemasonry is not a centralized organization with a single governing body that gives you, political or religious opinions. Every Mason will have his own political opinions and his own religious opinions, right? So, yes, I do. I used to post a lot more workout videos. Maybe I'll start doing that again. I think it'd be fun. I probably don't spend enough time posting my workout videos. I enjoy it though. It's good times. Something I enjoy posting about. No, you cannot discuss politics or religion in a lodge. Now, afterwards, when you're hanging out or, on social media, you can say whatever you want, and brethren may learn what your political opinions are, but you don't discuss them in a lodge. Honestly, it's centralized around the desire to hang out with other people. I mean, I suppose tradition, history, I mean, imagine if you're, you know, stonemasonry tradition. Imagine if 300 years ago you're at a bar hanging out with other people, or you're at a bar by yourself and you look over and you see, or a tavern, I guess, and you see a group of men all hanging out, enjoying each other's company. They seem to be getting along well. You go over, you speak to them, you find out they're all stonemasons, they're all professionals, but after a long day of work, they hang out at this tavern and enjoy each other's company. You ask if you can join them as well because you want to make some friends. You do, other people do, and eventually it grows and grows and grows into a social club, right? That's basically what happened, and 300 to 400 years later, here we are. It has, Mr. Jordan, because unfortunately, it's not that necessarily things are being politicized. Rather, it's that people have more ability to express their political opinions. So 300 years ago, or 30 years ago, I could be sitting in lodge next to a Republican, a Democrat, a conservative, a liberal, NDP, and I would never know, and I would never have cause to know. But now I become friends with him on Facebook. I look on Facebook, he's posting a whole bunch of political stuff that I don't like. Suddenly, it becomes an issue. That can happen. I think we have to do our best to avoid it. Having said that, look, I'll talk about political things on this channel if I'm so inclined, because I don't represent Freemasonry, I represent my views. And I'll talk about, I think Trump is a bad president and a bad person. I have a lot of issues with the people who voted for him, blah, blah, blah. But that doesn't get discussed in lodge. It gets discussed here. The internet has definitely made people more comfortable talking about politics 24/7. which is not always a healthy approach to life. Although, politics is also one of those things you can't escape. It's going to affect you sooner or later. It's going to affect Freemasonry. Political decisions create economic consequences. Those economic consequences affect Freemasonry. Are we going to be comfortable driving to and from our lodge meetings when gas is over $6 in California, and therefore, it costs you $10 to make it to a Masonic meeting? I mean, I've known a few construction workers who are Freemasons. There's not really, in my experience, Freemasonry tends to reflect whatever the Freemasonry tends to reflect whatever the demographics are of the community in which it's located. So if you live in a community where it's a significant number of white collar workers, like lawyers, let's say it's a richer area, although construction workers can be rich as heck, but nonetheless, that's what the lodge is. If it's a more blue collar town, the lodge is more blue collar. I mean, fair enough, Mr. Jordan. I've never been a believer in gun ownership personally. I've never, you know, I went to a couple of shooting ranges. A friend of mine was a big fan of guns, and I was his best man at his wedding. So we organized a trip to a shooting range. Um, I don't mind having shooting ranges where guns are kept and you can rent them, but I'm not a fan of being able to leave the shooting range with them. Um, there's just too much risk, right? It's too easy for the gun to be stolen or lost, or people to experience mental health breaks or mental health declines. And then, you might be a responsible gun owner when you purchase it, but mental health issues can come out of nowhere. And nobody's immune to them. So, having said that, I mean, I don't really know enough about I used to know more about the politics of it and the rules. I don't really know what the rules are around gun ownership in Canada or the United States. I mean, there's no place in the world where there's zero restrictions, right? Even in the United States, they have some rules and regulations. I just don't know what they are. Um, what's the foundational philosophy of Freemasonry? Um, I mean, brotherly love, relief, and truth might be a foundational philosophy. I would say, again, the foundational philosophy of Freemasonry is the same as the foundational philosophy of going out with your friends on a Friday night. It's worth spending time with other people at the most basic level. No, Freemasonry is not a neo-Nazi organization. If it was, I wouldn't be a member of it because neo-Nazis are horrible people, and I would not want to be part of a group with them. Um, it is also not a cash grab cult, nor is it a pyramid scheme. Um, why the government should be the only ones with weapons? Well, government by its nature has a monopoly on violence, right? Zalios, thank you for being here. Doji, thank you for being here. Um, as always, I hope everybody's doing well, and thank you for joining. I mean, what I will say on a more, if we want to tie this into Freemasonry, since the Regius poem of 1390, one of the foundational principles of Freemasonry is to be respectful of and compliant with the laws of the country in which you live or in which you work. Going back to the operative roots of masonry, when we were traveling workmen who might on Monday be working on a wall in France, and then on Tuesday travel to, I don't know, Morocco for work, and then, well, I guess the next month I should say travel to Morocco for another job, and then travel to England for another job, travel to Ireland for another job. It was understood that wherever you found yourself, you were to be respectful of the laws of that country, lest you bring your, lodge, lest you bring the craft into disrepute. So as Freemasons, our responsibility is to make sure whatever the laws of the country are, we are compliant with them. And I think that's the most important thing. Freedom declines infinitely. I don't know. I mean, you have to, the better question is like define infinite, right? Define freedom, probably the better term. Is a man in a desert free, right? Can you please respond to my last message? I don't know. What was your last message? Okay, but the large majority of guns used in violent crimes here in Canada are legally transported over the border. I'll leave it at that. I mean, that's an obvious call for better border security. I'm not knocking customs, by the way. I know how hard Canadian Border Patrol works. I someone who cross the border regularly, but that strikes me as a call for better border security and better checking of people as they cross, to make sure these guns aren't getting in. But once they do get in, I mean, again, it's the regulations at that point come more to what to do when you find them, or to do, how to deal with them. Hopefully they're captured at the time of transport, right? But you can have both, right? You can have strong regulations about guns purchased in country, as well as better security to keep illegally purchased, to keep guns from coming in. I think that's just a call for that. So generally speaking, do you feel your freedom? Well, I mean, it started out incredibly narrow. When I was a baby, I had zero freedom, obviously. I mean, I was completely at the mercy of my parents and my family. And really, I'd say up until I was probably at least 8 or 9 years old, I practically, for all intents and purposes, I had zero freedom, right? And then, it started to expand. Certainly, I had the most freedom around 18, 19, 20 years of age. I was physically my healthiest, probably. I was physically my fittest, which gave me physical freedom. I could do more physically. Um, I wasn't worried about things like money or retirement or saving money, so I could go out, whenever I wanted and do whatever I wanted. As you get older, your freedom restricts once again. I'm 42. I'm thinking a lot more about my future now, and that thinking about my future is limiting my freedom because I'm maybe not as willing to take some of the risks I took in the past, or do some of the things I did in the past, because even my health is, I'm getting older. And so you get older, you got to start thinking about, maybe I don't have the freedom to eat whatever I want anymore, or maybe I don't have the freedom to go as many hours without sleep, etc., etc. Um, I was a good kid, at least I hope I was. You'd have to ask my dad. You can't ask my mom because she passed away, but I'm sure she'd say it was great. Um, well, I can't speak because I don't know what the current restrictions are. I would say, as a general rule, I'll always be a supporter of more restrictions than less on guns. Um, but I'm also a believer in stronger and better border security to keep things like guns out, which is obvious, right? Um, I'm sure even local gun manufacturers who are, pro gun ownership would support that, because they don't want to see their market diluted. But that's always the case, Mikhail, right? I mean, that's true for every law, right? That's not a reason to not have the law, right? I mean, that's just a call for better enforcement. It's kind of like, yeah, I mean, a murderer will murder whether you make it illegal or not. That's not an excuse to make it legal, or to not regulate or enforce it. Um, well, I suppose that's true. I mean, again, I'm speaking probably more relative to you than the rules themselves, right? My suspicion is you're probably in, if both of us, if each of us were given a country to operate and a country to run and a country to govern, and one of the things we had to decide was regulations on gun ownership, my suspicion is my gun ownership regulations would be far more stringent than yours. So maybe I'm not speaking in relationship to the current system. I'm speaking in relationship to what I think it sounds like you would have in terms of your ideal world of regulation. Um, well, Daily, you're being weird. Please hit like and subscribe. Um, well, I mean, the only people any law affects are law-abiding people. That's the definition of being law-abiding. Yeah, that's true. I mean, for everybody. That doesn't mean you don't create laws, right? Um, it's kind of the again, and we as Freemasons are expected to be respectful of the laws of the country in which they live and in which they operate. Um, I think licensing was a thing in Canada. I mean, I don't know the exact rules around licensing. Um, I don't know why criminals don't follow laws. But again, I think, as obviously, so first and foremost, as a Freemason, I'm going to do my best to follow the laws of the country in which I live or in which I travel to. I've talked about this a million times. When I'm traveling overseas or even to the United States, I recognize I'm traveling to a different country. They may have different rules and regulations around visas or passports or length of stay or, what you can bring into the country or not bring into the country. Like, and, some places you can't bring fruit or vegetables or who knows what. Um, having your passport, filling out forms in advance, etc., etc. It's my responsibility to ensure that I'm being compliant with those rules and know what they are. If I end up living there, then maybe I become a citizen at some point, or I become a permanent resident. I can start to advocate for what I want to see, but until then, it's my responsibility to know the laws of the country and to try to comply with them as much as possible. Because again, it goes back to when we were operative stonemasons and our responsibilities were, we could be working in a variety of different countries with different laws. It's our responsibility to know what the laws are. Um, I mean, yeah, innocent until proven guilty, I think is a very valuable. I think innocent until proven guilty is a very valuable approach to take. Daily Dose, what is Freemasonry? Freemasonry is a civic institution or a social club that has existed for over 300 years. Think about it like a very formalized guys' night out, or I mean, there's also women Freemasonry, but it's a club, it's a group. Yes, I got a big forehead. I mean, I don't think it's completely illegal. I went to law school, but keep in mind that was a long time ago. I don't practice law. I mean, I don't know if it's changed. I think, to my understanding, the law is it has to be proportional. So if Conor McGregor, keep in mind, talk to a lawyer about this, but from my understanding, if Conor McGregor decides to attack me, or I'll use Sean Strickland as a current example, if he decides for some reason to attack me, I probably have a lot more leeway in defending myself than if a 90-year-old man on dialysis decides to attack me, because it's what is the proportional response. I can't use self-defense as an excuse to hurt somebody when I'm not necessarily in any danger, right? You have to use common sense. I am. I've been a Freemason for 20 years, just about. The purpose of this channel is to talk about Freemasonry and to turn my passion for Freemasonry into a profession. So, I'm not sure if there's any cases that's happened. I would need to know more about the facts. I mean, as a general rule, in situations like that, I can just speak for myself and say I personally would give the benefit of the doubt to the homeowner, unless there was clear reasons otherwise. So, for example, in a hypothetical, somebody breaks into my home, I wake up, I catch them, and as they're fleeing out the door because they see me, I shoot them, and the evidence indicates, based on bullet trajectory, whatever it is, that the bullet entered them from the back. At that point, I would be comfortable putting them in jail as well, the homeowner, because it's clear if you shoot somebody in the back, there's no clear and present danger. Whereas if the evidence shows they were coming towards me, or even just facing me, then my benefit of the doubt would go to the homeowner. It would be just dependent on a lot of different factors, right? I would need to know more about the particular case. Um, but I think a lot of it would depend on, again, what the evidence shows as to which way the intruder was facing, um, how close the intruder was. Again, the closer the intruder was, the benefit of the doubt goes more to the homeowner. But I wouldn't be an automatic, like, I wouldn't say automatically the homeowner is guilty or not guilty. But I wouldn't say the homeowner is automatically not guilty. Um, um, that is true, Hypno, and there could be a lot of different factors at play as well. But, I don't think there's an automatic right or wrong answer in that situation. What if the person is leaving the house, right? What if the person, you hear them downstairs, you go downstairs, as you come down the stairs, they're out the door. Can you still shoot them at that point if they're already out the door? What is the limit, right? I don't think you can say it's a clear black and white answer. Um, well, I don't think we should. I mean, and 20 times that, in my opinion, I would probably in that case lean more towards the homeowners at fault. But again, there's a lot of complicated factors. It's a, let's say it's a smaller woman who's the homeowner who's home alone, and the intruder is a very large guy. I don't want to, fall into stereotypes, but I might be more willing to say, okay, the smaller woman gets more leeway to shoot somebody 20 times because I could understand more of her fear than, let's say, it's the situation is reversed and it's a smaller woman breaking into the home, and the guy is whatever, 6'5" Sean Strickland, especially if um, the intruder doesn't have any weapons or isn't armed, you know. Um, so wielding a weapon, that changes things again. I mean, again, there's so many different factors at play. Like there is no simple answer to this question, right? Like, okay, somebody breaks into a home. Is that person, big, dangerous, physically imposing, armed? Does that person have a gun? Does that person have a knife? Does that person have more than one, is there more than one person breaking in? When the homeowner finds the person, is the back turned to them? Are they moving towards them, moving away from them? What is the distance? Are they in the process of exiting? It's not a simple thing as one way or the other. Um, what are the secrets of Freemasonry? So Freemasonry was not founded in 1776, Daily Dose. Freemasonry, most people would say that Freemasonry was founded in June 24th, 1717. That is when the Premier Grand Lodge of England was founded. I would say Freemasonry was founded in 1634, when the first speculative Freemasons joined. You could push it back to 1601 as well. I think 1776, you're thinking of the Illuminati, which is a different group. In terms of the secrets of Freemasonry, if I told you they wouldn't be secrets, would they? The truth is there are no real secrets. It's about trying to make the world a better place. There's modes of recognition. The value of those and keeping those private is it helps maintain the bonds of brotherhood. Um, um, I mean, you can't, Mr. Jordan, but then again, you go back to, I mean, this is always the case in these situations. So this is true of self-defense. This is true of all you can do is take a preponderance of evidence and do your best. So, if you have a situation where there's a break-in and the person who broke in ends up dead at the hand of the homeowner, or because the homeowner used a weapon, let's say used a gun, then you just look at all the different factors and the judge or jury makes the decision. I mean, for me, I can say what I would look at is the size of the intruder versus the size of the homeowner. I would look at whether the intruder was actually armed or not. Um, I would look at the time of the intrusion. If it was at night and it was dark, that would probably lend me more towards supporting the homeowner. Because if it's dark, you can't see anything, or you can see a lot less. So you might be more likely to be cautious and assume a weapon because you can't see for sure. I would look at whether the intruder was, shot in the front facing the homeowner or in the back. If you could use forensics to determine if the intruder was moving towards or away from the homeowner, that would be a big factor. That'd probably be the biggest factor, honestly. Which direction was the intruder moving? I would look at the number of shots fired. Um, and there is no single thing that would be, it'd be a preponderance of evidence. So, um, smaller, unarmed intruder breaks in during the day and is shot from behind while moving away from the homeowner. I'm probably calling that murder or homicide. Larger intruder, late at night, moving towards the homeowner, where the homeowner doesn't have good vision due to darkness, and a smaller homeowner to a bigger intruder, I'm probably giving that as self-defense. And then in between those two extremes, who knows? I'd have to look at each situation individually, right? Um, and so, you would argue, if I was the judge, you would argue to me it was dark. I couldn't see them well. I couldn't know if they had a pistol. I couldn't know if they had a knife. Maybe there have been other break-ins where weapons were used. I mean, every case is different. You just take all the facts and you make your best decision. But I don't believe it should be an automatic self-defense in the case of home intrusion. Nor do I believe it should be an automatic finding of guilt. You have to look at the preponderance of facts in each case and try to figure it out. Um, so I definitely don't believe in that, John Blue. I definitely don't believe if you break in, anything can happen to you and it's justified. That seems insane to me. That seems like you're looking to hurt somebody at that point. Um, well, I mean, we're saying it's just a hypothetical question of, if somebody breaks into your home, are you allowed to shoot them in self-defense? And I would say no. So in some cases, yes. In some cases, no. I would need to know a lot more about the facts of the case, not just a break-in alone is not sufficient to justify lethal force. Um, Hello, Ferps. Please hit like and subscribe. Um, well, but the light is another factor. I mean, again, if it's noon and every light in your house is on, um, I'm going to give you less leeway because yes, they could be concealed, but you could still see them reaching for something or moving towards something. If it's dark, you can't see them moving towards, their waistband or whatever it is. Again, the darkness versus the light is just another factor that's going to play into the decision making. It sounds like you're looking for an excuse to shoot a home intruder, which is fine, I suppose, and you could argue self-defense, but I don't think it's always going to be successful. Um, I mean, well, the States is different. I mean, I love the United States, don't get me wrong. I've said it a million times. I think Canada is the greatest country in the world, in part because we have the greatest neighbors in the world. But I don't agree with everything from the States, and I certainly don't agree with the idea that a break-in is sufficient to allow lethal force. I think that's prima facie, on its face, crazy. Um, So, yeah, I can understand this kind of my home is my castle and I have the right to defend it however I so choose, but it's not my own personal opinion, that's for sure. Again, in some cases, of course, you're you're a young female, you're at home alone, somebody's broken into your house, they're a large man, they're approaching you. It's dark. You can't see what they have. Even if you could, who cares? They're a larger guy approaching you, threatening you. Obviously, lethal force is okay in that case. Even if you were to take him out, shoot him 20 times, I probably would say, well, heat of the moment, okay. Guy's running out of your house. You know he's leaving your house. You shoot him anyways. Different story. Um, But I mean, and I love Tennessee. I've been to many Masonic meetings in Tennessee. Tennessee is an incredible state, incredible brethren there. But yeah, um, well, I would say your options are they facing you? Are they facing away from towards you? If if they're walking towards you in a threatening manner, I would be more comfortable with you using it. If they're walking away from you, or even if they're trying to escape your house because you catch them and they're trying to run away, then I would say don't shoot them. Again, if you're looking for the legal rules about this, I haven't practiced law, so talk to a lawyer about what your rights are in that situation. If you want my opinion, every situation is slightly different. It's a preponderance of factors, but um, I don't think you have the right to shoot somebody because they broke into your house. It sounds a bit like you do, Mr. Jordan, so be it. Um, but maybe keep your house locked anyways, so you're not inviting break-ins, just so you can shoot somebody. Um, don't break into a house that simple. Yeah, unfortunately, people have been breaking into houses for centuries, in fact, for millennia, and they probably will continue to do so. Some of them could very likely and very well turn their life around and go on to live good lives. Not if they're shot, though, right? And so you want to balance out the desire for, I mean, in that case, it sounds more like a desire for vengeance because you broke into my house and how dare you, as opposed to a actual desire for self-defense. But people turn their lives around. Many people broke into houses and went to jail and got out and tried to make amends. Um, well, I mean, we're talking about specifically in this case a house being broken into. So yes, of course, the first thing you should do, obviously, is call the police. If you can. If you think anybody's broken into your house, even if you are afraid to talk on the phone because you don't want to be heard, if you call 911 and just don't speak on the phone, they can trace your call and they can know that, it's the same reason if you're choking and you can't speak and you're by yourself, you should get your cell phone and call 911 because they can trace your call and come and see what's going on and try to get to you. So you should always obviously call 911 first before you do anything else, if you can, right? That should be your main goal. I mean, if they kick your door down, um, well, if they kick your door down, that leans me more towards the side of it's justifiable to use lethal force because at that point it's like they probably don't care if somebody's in the house, and that probably tells me that they um, are probably willing to use force themselves. I'd probably in that case give the benefit of the doubt more towards the homeowner. But if I don't know, let's say the door is left unlocked or something and they just open it and they're sneaking around the house quietly, um, at that point, I'm not so sure I would give the benefit of the doubt to the homeowner. I probably wouldn't. I mean, it's tough. It's just tough to say. Every circumstance is different. There's no automatic right answer to it. That's why we have judges and juries. But again, I think the idea that a break-in is automatic justification for, um, right? I think the example of the idea that a break-in equates with an automatic, um, an automatic lethal force is crazy. I think that's nuts. Um, well, nobody should be getting drunk and driving. If you're a Freemason, you're doing that. That's incredibly sad. You should definitely not be doing that. But either way, do not be driving while intoxicated. Um, it would make you, I mean, people make mistakes and that's fine. Human beings make mistakes. That's human nature. And if you have driven while you're intoxicated, just focus on making better choices in the future and be grateful and thankful that you didn't hurt yourself or hurt somebody else or get caught and lose your license. But make better choices in future. Driving while intoxicated is not okay. Um, you can't outlaw everything. Well, that's true. Um, I mean, I think police are our friends. I'm grateful for police officers. But yes, if you have been charged with a crime, obviously you need to talk to a lawyer right away. Um, if you don't have, this idea of like call my lawyer, if you don't have a lawyer retained or whatever it is, which most people don't, you can ask to speak to a public defender or get out the phone book. But find yourself a lawyer ASAP. That is incredibly important. And know your rights. That's incredibly important as well. Um, Uh, Defending one's life is important, sure. Um, but everything comes with caveats, right? Because obviously, right, I can if I just run around hurting people and then just say, well, I was in fear for my life, at a certain point it becomes kind of silly. So, what does it mean to be afraid of one's life? What does it mean to what does it mean to defend one's life? I think that's a valid question, right? I think in some cases what it sounds like is people using "I was afraid for my life" as justification to hurt people. Not all the time. It depends. It's all circumstantial, right? There is no single answer. There is nothing cut and dried. So that's important. Um, I take it that back. I drink at social. I mean, I've never had a drink. That's not a Masonic thing. Many Masons drink, which is perfectly fine. But it's about drinking with health. It's about drinking responsibly. It's about drinking safely. It's about knowing your limits, not driving while intoxicated, etc., etc. Right? All of that stuff is really, really important and matters a lot. If you're in a Masonic context, it's about making sure that your lodge buildings are properly insured and licensed to serve alcohol, that you're not letting Masons drive home while intoxicated, etc., etc. So you need to keep those things in mind. Um, I mean, I've known a lot of police officers who work very hard at their jobs. Again, there is no 100% on any of this stuff. Every situation is different, and you need to take each situation into account. Um, I mean, I don't think you should be worried about police. I don't think you should not be worried about police. I think you should just recognize police officers are professionals who have a job to do. If you ever find yourself needing to avail yourself, though, of the legal system, then obviously it's lawyers that you should be speaking with and getting yourself a lawyer to protect your rights. I would always recommend at any time, right, speak to a lawyer if you have any legal concerns. Um, I think that's completely fair. Oh, little spider. I mean, come here. I'm not sure this idea of like what it means to be, oops, quote unquote, railroaded. Again, I'm just going to go back to the general idea. You know, you should always, of course, when it comes to law enforcement, be respectful of police officers and anyone responsible for enforcing the laws. It's a tough job, but you should also know your rights and always avail yourself of a lawyer if you feel like you're in any type of legal jeopardy. Um, there used to be a lot of police officer lodges back in the day, right? Back when Freemasonry was ubiquitous and there was over 100,000 Masons in Ontario, what you saw was you had lodges of plumbers and lodges of railroad workers and lodges of doctors. And in Detroit, you had a lot of automotive worker lodges. And then you had police officer lodges as well. Doesn't really happen anymore. There's not just too few Masons to justify professional affinity lodges. Um, well, eyewitness testimony, Mikhail, is not the best. Eyewitness testimony is very often shown to be actually very um, untrustworthy and an interesting side note. So it's kind of a cool thing to note. Well, you can discuss them, but not in the lodge, right? There's a time and place for everything. And in a Masonic lodge is not the time to discuss politics or religion. But I mean, I'm sure that's true. I mean, you don't, at your job, you're not going to go in and start talking politics with your coworkers. Um, or maybe you do, I don't know, but it's probably not the best approach to take. Time and place for everything is important. Welcome back, Shrey. Thank you for being here. Of course, I miss you. Please hit that. Oh, we got some gifts. I didn't notice that. 33. Where did those rubies come from? I'm very sorry. Whomever gave me those gifts, I'm grateful. And forgive me for missing them. Um, it's truly appreciated. Oh, Scott, way above, said, you don't think masonry is evil at the higher level? Scott, I do not. I do not think masonry is evil at every level. There is no higher level of Freemasonry. I always keep saying that. No one believes me. Freemasonry does not work on these higher levels. It's decentralized. That's the biggest misconception about it. Um, well, I mean, I've talked about politics in the past, and I don't mind talking about it on this stream and giving my opinion, just as long as people know it's my opinion, not Masonic. Um, Well, it's not really helpful. I mean, there are times when politics is relevant, but in Masonry, it's not one of them. Thank you, XXL. Thank you for being here. Please hit like, please hit subscribe. I'd appreciate it. Um, I mean, I would say hire a lawyer is always good advice, or at least consult with the lawyer. Kidney updates. Still waiting to get the results of the tests back. I had my recent tests on May 1st. They said it was going to be 2 weeks to test my blood against the possible kidney recipient, excuse me, because it'd be my donation. Plus, along with that, they have to do some additional testing on, because I've traveled a lot, and so they have to do additional testing on my blood. But I would hear the next results in 2 weeks. So I guess it might be as soon as tomorrow because it's been about 2 weeks. Um, yeah, it's true. It was, but it's better that it wasn't. So it's better that it's not anymore because I think I prefer video to eyewitness testimony. That's for sure. Um, change the camera angle. Like, what's wrong with my camera angle, Shrey? Am I seeing? Is the is this camera angle not looking so great? How's my camera angle look, people? Anybody want to let me know if my camera angle's looking good? Or if you'd like it different, let me know. I know it's not the. I gotta. Thank you, XL. I mean, I think courts and places are working really hard to be able to detect AI, because one of the biggest risks we're seeing, I think, is people creating AI videos to frame anybody of committing crimes, right? You can basically create an AI video showing people doing anything, and obviously that can be very dangerous. So, I mean, by all means, I appreciate the subscription. Right now, it's me potentially giving the kidney, but that's very kind of you. But Mr. Jordan, you don't need to give me a kidney. I mean, if you're interested in kidney donation, you can be an anonymous kidney donor. There's plenty of people out there looking for one, and it's not a hard process. There's no guarantee you'll be accepted. There's have to do tests and fill out questionnaires, and there's all sorts of different possible risk factors and reasons why they can't do it. But if you're interested, being a kidney donor, you can be an anonymous living kidney donor. Also, you can make sure that you are, an organ donor after death. Make sure that you got that in your will. I'm a big believer in that. And then also there's blood donation and plasma donation. So keep those things in mind as well. We all have agency and ability, maybe not as much as we think sometimes, but maybe enough. Deep finger, I have no idea what that means, but I have no legs, so I have 0 toes. I'm missing both of my legs above the knee. Yes, I got a big nose, Doctor Not a Doctor. Hit that like and subscribe button, help me out. I am 16 subs away from 4,000. I'm getting closer and closer. Well, I mean, even when you're giving a kidney, they don't just take it, right? They have to make sure that you're going to be able to handle the surgery, that medically you're okay, that you can live with one kidney without issues. Also, because I do take certain medications, they need to make sure that those medications won't create complications during the surgery, issues around things like clotting, whatever it might be. And also, because I have somebody who might be getting my kidney, they have to do tests with my blood and that other person's blood. We're both the same blood type, but that's not enough. There's more tests that needs to be done. So it's not as though, like, even when you're giving the kidney, they still need to test you, because if medically there's a risk of you dying during the surgery, or your kidneys are damaged or defective in some way, there are a lot of people walking around with maybe kidney issues. They just don't realize it because they have 2 kidneys, and so one is doing more work than the other, something like that. I don't mind our prime minister, Carney. I think he's okay. I also didn't mind Trudeau. I was a conservative once upon a time. I actually interned in the office of the prime minister under Stephen Harper, and I gave a lot of money and a lot of volunteer hours knocking on doors for conservative candidates in Windsor and around Canada. I was an intern in Harper's office in 2009, and in Gordon O'Connor's office in 2008. Yes, Doctor Not a Doctor. All right. I'm going to be ending this stream soon. Thank you, everybody, for joining. We are now 15 subs away from 4,000. It's one of those things where I've kind of been stuck at this 3,900 mark for a bit. Maybe by tomorrow, if not by tomorrow, the next day, probably. Yeah, I mean, I'm no longer conservative, obviously, as you can probably tell. I've switched parties, but I was grateful. I mean, I'll always be grateful for my time in Ottawa. I'll always be grateful for my time interning in the office of the Prime Minister, Langevin block. And yeah, I've even got some certificates and stuff from my conservative days and some really fun memories, mostly of melting, half to death in this crazy heat while canvassing for conservative voters. I remember those days. It was very hot in summer and very cold in winter, but a lot of fun. I had a lot of great opportunities. So, um, thank you, pastry. I mean, we're going to see. Again, I'm giving my kidney, not getting one, so it's more thinking about the other person. But yeah, it's we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I mean, it's if I'm pretty much a civilian now, but if I recall correctly, um, he has a majority, so it's going to be about 3 years, and then we'll see what happens after that. William Curry, hello from Scotland. Thank you for being here. If you're new to the stream, take a moment, hit that like and subscribe button. Since you are from Scotland, and I was just there, welcome. Let me know if you have any thoughts on Freemasonry. I'll give you a couple seconds to answer before I end the stream. I'd be curious to know if you have any thoughts, anything you want to share. Scotland's a great country. I was in Edinburgh. I loved it there. I thought it was beautiful. Um, I am curious what made you lean into changing. What made me change my political views, like switch parties? COVID, and particularly a significant strain of anti-vaccine, um, you know, um, sentiment in the Conservative Party, and this idea of like freedom as being the most important thing all of a sudden. I was always a believer that freedom is not the most important thing. Rather, the most important thing is the extent to which we as individuals support one another and support the common good and are willing to sacrifice for that common good and for society. Um, and that's represented in, for example, getting vaccinated, public health measures, paying taxes, following the law, being compliant with the law, obeying the law, whatever else it might be, right? Conservatism was about sacrificing personal interest for common good, whereas, and my view, the left had always been the opposite. It's me, not the common good. And that's true for across the board. That's true for like working as well, right? Like you shouldn't work just to get a paycheck. Yes, you should want a paycheck. You should work because you want to contribute something to the company and make the company better and provide better opportunities for the company. Um, you should want to be a good neighbor because you want your neighbors to be happy and you can contribute to them. You should exercise and be physically fit because the fitter and healthier you are, the better you will be able to, the better you're able to contribute to your community. That's why I think getting vaccinated is a responsibility of every Mason. Um, Flower Girl, I will not speak on the massive Jewish overrepresentation in positions of power and influence because there is no massive Jewish overrepresentation in positions of power and influence. So, no. What it's clear is you are probably anti Semitic. Um, Stephen Kelly, I am as vaccinated as one can be. I don't know if it's synthetic or not, but I'm still here. I ain't glowing green yet. Ain't grown any legs or anything. And not just for like COVID, but for, I got my flu shot, my COVID shot. And also because I travel regularly, I got my hepatitis A, hepatitis B, um, yellow fever, tetanus. Oh, I think it's storming outside. Got all of those vaccines, plus the boosters. Um, Also, I hate conspiracy and Conservative Party. started to have a lot of conspiracy-minded nonsense. I mean, about all sorts of things. A lot of voters started telling me a bunch of crazy stuff that they believed. So, well, I will not sacrifice my front teeth because doing so will not make the world a better place. But if sacrificing my front teeth could help make the world a better place, then I would do so. Um, So, Mr. Jordan, I'm actually a believer in this is me speaking personally. Most Masons, I think, would disagree with this, to be honest. In my experience, most Masons would disagree. I'm a believer in mandatory vaccinations. Now, when I say mandatory, I don't think you should go to jail if you don't get vaccinated. But I do think you should be charged if you go to the hospital and, with a sickness, you should be charged the cost of the hospital stay. You should not be covered under insurance. Now, if you couldn't pay, then so be it. You still get treated and you just get a bill you never pay. But I do think you should get a bill. But I do think vaccination should be mandatory. Or I think, just a fine in general. In the same way, if you don't fill out the census, you should get fined. Same basic principle. Um, Not in my experience, Mountain Billy. Most conspiracy theories I've seen end up being just not true and nothing but harmful. I mean, a really good example of the danger of it is look at the movie Bug 2006, starring Ashley Judd, is a really good example of that. And as a Freemason and as somebody, who is a Freemason and has heard a lot of conspiracy theories thrown at me about Freemasonry and seen what those conspiracy theories do to the people who believe them, it's really dangerous. Um, what if then you've done all you can, right? Mountain Billy. Like this may sound draconian. I'm somewhat of a believer in, let's say your doctor prescribes you cholesterol medication and you refuse to take it and you end up having a heart attack, then you should be charged for the hospital visit. But if you took your cholesterol medication and no medication's perfect and you still end up in the hospital, you shouldn't be because you did all you could, you did the best you could, and sometimes even when you do your best, it's not, the still doesn't work out. Some people took the vaccine and still got sick. So be it, right? You do the best you can with the information you have at the time, and then whatever happens, happens. Um, that's kind of always going to be my philosophy. Um, would you say, well, I mean, the downside of being a Freemason is so there is if you are a Freemason in that you join the lodge, you pay your dues, and you never show up to lodge, then there really is no downside to it. You can call yourself a Mason, maybe that's what you wanted to be called, and you just, whatever. I mean, it doesn't take up any of your time or your energy or blah, blah, blah. I guess the downside is you're paying dues for, $25 a year to $250 a year for something you never take part in. But, but the downside is if you are active and dedicated, then yeah, it's time away from your family. It's time away from your friends. If you're trying to grow something and focus on something, you're dedicated to it, then yeah, it's work. Like if your Masonic Lodge owns a building, maybe you need to show up late at night to organize degree or to vacuum or to clean it. Like Freemasonry can be work, and work is effort, work is tiring. It depends on how dedicated you are and how much you care about it. But I'd say that's the main downside. But that is completely up to you. A lot of Masons join and don't put any effort or time into it and therefore never experience that downside. The Retry Nation? There's always going to be spammers. It's one of those things. It's part of being on YouTube, unfortunately. Um, I mean, the struggles I've had being a Freemason, I've talked about it before. It's trying to keep this organization going when civic institutions are declining, not just Freemasonry, but so many civic institutions are declining across the world. Being at lodge at 2 in the morning because the building has a busted pipe or anything like that, right? Wanting to sleep in, but having to get up early to go to coffee club because there's a special event taking place. Now, don't get me wrong, I've had more benefits than not, but it's work, it's dedication. Um, I mean, what is a personal goal of yours? So, my personal goal, I have two goals of being a Freemason. Goal number one is uh, to turn my passion for Freemasonry into a profession by creating content on social media. And then to show others it's possible to do the same. And my second is to increase the relevancy of Freemasonry within its communities. I want whenever people come to Windsor, I want them to think about the Windsor Masonic Temple. Whenever people go to Detroit, I want them to think of the Detroit Masonic Temple. I mean, Mountain Billy, uh, I've got 8 COVID shots. I'm still here. I mean, there's no way, I didn't go to medical school. I'm not a doctor, so I have to defer to doctors and what they say. In the same way, I've been a Mason for 20 years, so when I talk about Freemasonry, I expect a level of deference. It doesn't mean I have to agree with everything I say, but recognize my experiences within it, right? Doctors went to medical school for a reason. So if they're saying it's natural causes, then there you go. Um, well, I am aware of those studies. To my knowledge, it didn't say it didn't stop the spread. It just said it provided minimal benefits in stopping it. I think it was like what 1%. 1% is a big deal when you're talking about millions of people. Even a 1% reduction in spread actually matters a lot. But even if it didn't stop the spread, um, you know, it stopped people from getting sicker than they would have otherwise, which means they're less likely to end up in the hospital. And every hospital bed that's taken up, even if it's not a pandemic, is a big deal, right? Like the reason I try to keep myself physically healthy and fit, relatively speaking, I'm not perfect, is because I don't want to end up in a hospital and end up in a situation where I'm taking a bed away from somebody else who might have needed it if I could do anything to prevent my illness. Now, I may not be able to prevent it. I may end up in the hospital whether I want to or not. But I'd like to think that if I did end up in the hospital, I would end up in the hospital knowing um, that I did all I could to keep myself away from it and would not therefore feel bad about taking up resources that could go to others. I think we as Freemasons have responsibility, again, to be respectful and recognize the fact that resources are not unlimited. And every time we make a choice and make a decision, the consequence of which is, you know, um, we use hospital resources or legal resources or whatever it is, those cannot be used for anybody else. So again, that's not to say, look, people get older, there are things out of their control, but controlling the controllable is a really important. It's controlling the controllable is something that's really important idea in my life. Um, that goes for health, well-being, and anything else. And vaccines are one way to control the controllable. So is diet, so is exercise. Again, I'm not perfect, but I do try. Um, I mean, I have no issue, pastry man, with Jewish people in Freemasonry. There are many Jewish people in Freemasonry, as well as Christians, Hindus, Sikhs. Freemasonry is not exclusive to any religious or ethnic belief, religious belief or ethnicity. I have sat next to many Jewish Freemasons. I think it's awesome, as well as Muslim Freemasons and Christians and Indigenous. Um, this idea of, Freemasonry having a heavy reliance on Jewish scripture and imagery. That's not the case as much as people think it is. Yes, King Solomon is a very important figure in Freemasonry. However, so are Egyptian pyramids, so are stone Masonic tools and stone Masonic guilds. In my opinion, the most heavily relied upon image and images and ideologies or symbolism of Freemasonry is stone Masonic guilds in the Middle Ages. That to me is where it kind of starts and stops. Then there's Muslim imagery, Christian, Chinese imagery, Enlightenment philosophy, architecture, and a million others. Whoa, we got a lot of stuff I'm missing. Captain Jeff talking about Freemasonry. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral? Let me know. I can't speak to over vaccinated. All I can say is I got vaccinated. I'm still here. Ain't glowing green yet. Well, they did, and that might have been their best guess, and then it mutated. But you do the best you can with the information you have at the time, and if it turns out to be wrong, so be it. I'd rather do my best and be wrong than act with suspicion. Dina, Jewish people are not usually Freemasons. There are some Jewish Freemasons and some Christian Freemasons and Hindu Freemasons and Muslim Freemasons. Freemasonry is not a particular religion or ethnic group. Tony Morgan, Freemasons are not evil. Um, um, Thank you, Peach. I'm doing my best. So I think it was 8. I have to look at the number. Basically, I got the 2 shots at the start, and then I've gotten the boosters whenever I'm eligible. I also get them because I travel a lot, and I don't want to get sick before I travel because that'd just be misery, right? I like to be. Sometimes you get sick when you travel, no matter what you do, but travel is. I love traveling, but traveling can be stressful enough. I don't think I need to add sickness to it. Um, okay, pastry mason. Freemasonry is not 100% Protestant. It once upon a time it probably was when, there was 10 Masons in the whole world, but there's a lot more of them now. Xcash, my testosterone is just fine, thank you very much. Well, De Molay was not either. That's incorrect. De Molay, the gentleman, was the last commander of the Knights Templar, and De Molay is a Masonic youth group. It is not pastry. It is not. You're not wrong, Mikhail. You're not wrong about that. I feel grateful to live in Canada. It's a wonderful country, and I feel grateful to to visit the United States. Excuse me. It's a wonderful place to visit. I don't think you actually are Vladimir Putin, but I hope you'll like and subscribe nonetheless. 14 subs away from 4,000. Let's see if we can get there. I don't think we're going to get there on this stream, but maybe tomorrow. Let's keep our fingers crossed. And don't forget to head to my community page after this and answer my community questions. I'm doing a quiz every day this month because it is National Preservation Month in the States, where they're looking at historical preservation of buildings. And there are many Masonic buildings that are worthy of historical preservation that are registered on the National Register of Historic Places. And I'm asking questions about each of them. So take the time to check that out and answer those questions. Answer those quizzes. You got to be really careful. I don't know. Again, I always say, what did the doctors say? And I go with that. And no different than if I, got hot knock on wood, ever got charged with a crime, I would say, what do the lawyers say, and go with that. Yes, I'm just calling you Reese. I am a Freemason. I've been a Freemason for 20 years. It's crazy to think it's been that long. Time absolutely flies. But yes, I am a Freemason. Well, he might have just jumped on, in fairness, and maybe doesn't know what I've been talking about. He's sleeping. It's 3 in the morning. For him, maybe 2 in the morning. He's an old man. He can only stay up so late. He's an old man, so um, I'm getting an old man myself, to be honest. Feeling old, but age is just a feeling, right? So long as I keep on telling myself I'm young, maybe I can stay young. I don't think that's how time works, but nonetheless. I mean, there's a lot of myth about Freemasonry. Some of it, you know, apocryphal, some of it legendary, some of it not myth at all, but true. It just, it depends. I don't even know anything about Freemasonry. I mean, a gold Spanish coin. I mean, there are Masonic coins. Like, hold on, just 1 second. I don't know why gold would matter, um, other than it's valuable. I'm not going too far, I promise. But like, I mean, this bag I've got here is full of Masonic coins, which I've loved to have. I'm grateful for them. Like, I don't know, here's one I'll pull out randomly. So I'm truly grateful for, actually, it's upside down, all of my Masonic coins. I mean, challenge coins are a very common kind of Masonic keepsake. I've been grateful to get many of them over the years. I have no idea. I think any medical school would be hard. Um, we're going to end this stream shortly. Please take a moment to hit like, hit subscribe, and as always, any thoughts you have on Freemasonry? We're going to be ending this stream soon because it is 3:30 in the morning and I'm very tired. But it's been a good stream and enjoyable, and we got a lot of new people joining, which I'm grateful for. Um, anytime I have new people finding the stream, I appreciate it. Don't forget to consider doing a super chat, Patreon, all that stuff as well. Helps me turn my passion for Freemasonry into profession by content creation. Also, follow me on social media. I got the Facebook, I got the X, I got the Blue Sky, I got the Instagram. I have Discord and other things as well, but I rarely use those. Alabama's awesome. Oh, I mean, my suspicion is it's just a keepsake. Um, More so than anything else. Um, Keep in mind, though, Spain might have different rituals than we do here. So sometimes you get a coin in the third degree as like a keepsake. That happens. Some lodges do that as well. Um, that is true. Like anywhere, we have our pros and cons. That has been my experience also. Sometimes the goal should be just focus on the pros. The cons are going to be there no matter what you do. So it's up to you to find the pros. Um, All right. I think we're going to end this stream now. We will be back on 1 p.m. We're going to have more specific topics, not just a general kind of chat. But I will talk to you guys later. Thank you all for being here. If you're new to the stream, hit like, hit subscribe. Thank you all for being here as always. Answer some of my quizzes on my community page. Leave some comments. Find me on socials. Square and Compass promotions. All that stuff helps out big time. It's great if you can support the channel financially through super chats, Patreon, but even just following, liking, subscribing, believe me, that helps out the channel big time. So it's greatly appreciated. All right, talk to you guys soon. Have a great night.